Today, horror in Wisconsin as a man mowed down Christmas parade goers. Will the Rittenhouse family sue for defamation? We may have the answer. And deaths in the United States from COVID this year have topped 2020 already. But don't worry, guys. All right. Dr. Fauci has spoken. You just need to keep getting the vaccine. There's nothing to see here. Don't worry about the details. We've got a lot coming up today, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, and it's going to be a good show today, all right, because we have a BlazeTV contributor, Eric July, here in the flesh, Young Rip of 5'9" on YouTube. Go subscribe, do yourself a favor. Also joined by my friend Elijah Schaefer, who is the host of both You Are Here and Slightly Offensive here at BlazeTV. It's like he's just taking over the network.
I'm also
I think
a
he's
huge
gonna have
fan.
a couple more.
I'm a huge fan of you guys. This is a crazy thing.
I know.
I know both of you.
Yeah.
But I respect you both a lot, and I'm fangirling a little bit. I got my favorite black person and favorite Mexican all in one place.
Well, we do what we can to elevate the POC brand.
Just trying to bring the unity here. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much division in the world that I just know that at BlazeTV, our biggest goal is to diversity hire, and so they picked each of us out. Yeah. And you know what we're having? I think we're just missing our transgender Asian didn't show up.
Bummer. Next time, though. Next time. So let's get to this first story. Really interesting. I think everyone is aware of the story, but I would like to kind of discuss what happened and how it's being portrayed by the mainstream media, because I think if you are watching CNN, MSNBC, you're not really getting surprisingly enough, you're not really getting the full details here. So a Wisconsin man was hit with 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide today in a vehicular attack this was a Christmas parade in Waukesha. Am I saying that correctly?
Waukesha, I think?
Waukesha.
When I was there, they were
Some
calling it
Wisconsinite.
Waukesha. I don't know.
Okay, so, well, you would know because you were just in Wisconsin.
That was right by Waukesha.
Yeah. So how far away is this from Kenosha?
Like maybe an hour, right?
Not that
an
far.
hour.
Not that far.
They rioted there too, by the way, in 2020, just to remind everybody. So this city has also been a victim. You hear about Kenosha a lot, but they also had their own looting and problems.
So this was a red SUV that was seen in, and I don't know if we have the videos. I don't particularly want to play them. It's pretty graphic. It's pretty disturbing.
Can you even on YouTube play these kind of things?
I don't even know, but it was this red SUV that, you see this Christmas parade. People are obviously walking down the street, and you see this red SUV just come, gunning it just all the way down the road and running over people. By the way, not slowing down for that, not stopping, but seemingly trying to get the people instead of trying to avoid them. It's just interesting. This is Daryl Brooks, who has been charged with this. 5 people were killed. I think I heard the latest was 48 people injured. Several of them
so far. 5 have
Thank
succumbed
you.
so far, but
yes.
some of them are critical.
Critical condition, including 2 children, I believe. So this is a big deal. There was some confusion, though, at first, because this was a man who had a very, very long rap sheet of crimes. In fact, apparently, he had just been previously arrested for running a woman over with his car. He posted for that crime, a bail of $1,000. Oh, I'm sorry, that was for a domestic violence case against him, right? $1,000. Can one of you guys remind me? I hate to do a comparison here, but I'm going to, because I keep hearing if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, all of these different things would have happened. This suspect actually was black. What was the bail for Kyle Rittenhouse?
$2 million. Yeah, it was over $1 million. They raised it. And I want to point this out too, because I know you're going to pop off on this. Like, there's so much that we can attack here, but comparing the 2 cases, right, because they happened about an hour apart, I want to remind you, from watching the footage of this mass casualty event, terror event that happened, this person drove their car. Okay, the charges he's getting is this intentional homicide. Now, if you watch the Rittenhouse shooting that happened, reminder, Rittenhouse got the same charges of intentional homicide.
Yes.
So it's crazy when you realize what the charge intentional homicide means. It's like when you see someone intentionally went out to just mow people down and kill people. That's what they tried to frame Rittenhouse as, like that he did something like this, like just went out into a crowd to kill people. So you knew that that case was politically motivated. And also, I was belaboring the point last night. It's either the Coulter effect, where it was like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours after this, and we never heard anything about the suspect. It was the suspect. We have a suspect in custody. And I'm going, look, man, if when Rittenhouse gets arrested, I think I saw in the New York Times article, I think 11 times they mentioned that he was white.
White, yes,
and then didn't talk about the people who were shot, their colors of skin color, so that they could confuse people and make them think it was black to stoke racial tensions. Then when a black person commits a crime, it's always like they're just a suspect.
Right.
And they're just a man. And they never say anything about him. And they don't even put his picture up. CNN's article didn't even have the picture.
Yeah, well, I mean, the president of the United States came out today and said that they were monitoring the situation closely. This acts of violence, all this. But again, no call of a black supremacist, which we heard the exact opposite with Kyle Rittenhouse. We were supposed to believe that he was a white supremacist. And in these articles that you're talking about, Elijah, even when they mentioned that he's white, even if they don't actually call him a white supremacist, they'll put at the very bottom, like, white supremacy causes this many crimes, this many deaths per year. These are the facts of white supremacy, just to be able to tie him into that, even if they're not making the direct assertion. Yeah,
I mean, we can talk about it until we're blue in the face of the hypocrisy, or rather the contradictions, considering that the alphabet agencies or platforms, CNN and NBC and all of that, I mean, it's almost, you can, at this point, it's safe to assume that the person wasn't white. Once they didn't announce that right away, you can already assume that that wasn't the case. That person was not white. And then, you see people kind of waiting and lining up to see. And then once that narrative could not be met, then it just becomes, okay, it was a suspect. We don't have a motive. We don't have all of these things that we seem to have, or at least they're willing to guess. At minimum, like they will with Kyle Rittenhouse, it's a white kid, had to be white supremacy. Obviously, that is to be is why this certainly occurred. Now, with this instance, it's not that. It's suspect, mowed folk down. Unfortunately, the number of deaths continues to rise in terms of, like you were mentioning, people are in the hospital still. And there's no mention of motive. It's like they're not even trying to cover that.
They say they don't even say, we don't know the motives. It's like, we know this has no racial motivation.
Yes.
And there's no racial connection for sure.
Yes. Exactly. They write off anything that insinuates something to the contrary of what they were just griping about. And it took place in the same state. See, look, I say we know what these companies are up to, right? These corporate press, they're the enemy of the people. We know what they're up to. The difficulty here is trying to convince other people that they have been duped on a lot of this stuff. And the Rittenhouse case really shows a lot of that. And what you could put something side by side and say, I know what you want the world to be, right? But this is an example that this is horse crap. Like, for example, in the same day that we knew we got the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, another black, and this was a cop. Yeah. Like, this is, with police officers that were involved, of a man, because I can't remember if it was a raid or whatever, and he gets raided, and he ends up shooting, killing someone, and they try to murder, and he got off not guilty. Oh, he also lived to go to trial, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't stop people from saying, well, if Kyle Rittenhouse was black, this would have happened. You could show these idiots 50 other instances. How many you think there are black people that are in jail for murder right now? Obviously, they had to not have died and made it to trial. It happens all the time. But it doesn't stop them from perpetuating the nonsense. And that's the difficult thing of what I'm trying to do. It's not even convincing them. I think mock and shame is really the best tool that we have at our disposal, and stop treating these people as if they're like children that can't comprehend something. They're stupid. They're literally stupid people who sit here and get off by lying because they see the world through a lens that they want it to be and not what it actually is. So that's why I don't get into those arguments. People see me on Twitter, I just make fun of them. I post a little goofy profile pictures and all of that stuff, instead of actually trying to explain to them and breaking it down to these stupid people that what you're presenting the world as is not the case. The corporate press has continued to lie to you about racial connotations of all these different instances that we see. This is just another case of them trying to sweep it under the rug, and because the perpetrator, if you will, the suspect, is not the color that they want him to be. So I say we just keep calling these people stupid and call them for what they are, because let's call them what they are.
They are. We were at a protest this weekend in Chicago. I was up there with Savannah, my producer, and it was funny because I was like, so I found us one of their signs that said against Kyle Rittenhouse, right? Because if people don't realize, Chicago is only about like 45 minutes away from Kenosha, like central Chicago, I might say. So if you want to know the whole state lines things, like this isn't even like Illinois is right by Kenosha, like actually one of the biggest cities in America is directly next door. And one of the signs was like,
wait, you crossed state lines?
Lines.
And they didn't arrest you?
I had to cross state lines.
They didn't arrest you?
It was crazy.
You white supremacist bastard.
I had to cross state lines twice. It was so close. Within 1 hour, I crossed state lines twice to get back. I know. So I committed the crazy crime of interstate travel in my own country, and which is actually illegal in Australia. So I guess it is a big deal in some places. But I went there, and I remember one of their signs that was like, if Kyle Rittenhouse is able to be acquitted, what does this tell you about our justice system? And it was like, that it might still work. That's you posting your own L's. And Savannah was interviewing this one girl who I was laughing so hard because she thought that the victims, they were victims, right? And they were black. And she was clarifying to the girl, like, hey, they actually were white, and one was a pedophile, and one was a domestic abuser, and they tried to kill the kid, and it was self-defense. And then the girl was like, I didn't know any of that, but anyways, if we find him, we're going to get him. Like, meaning you said it didn't matter. It was like
stupid. It doesn't even matter. This is why you can't. Libertarians and conservatives have this the worst, where we try to apply our sets of ethics and principle and intellect onto our enemy, and we think reason is enough to get them to come to terms with the reality. And it's simply not. I deal with these people all the time because I have to converse with them in terms of like the subcultures that I'm involved in, whether it be musicians. We know, I say this as a guy that's in the scene, most musicians are freaking stupid, as well as the people that generally support them, or God forbid, actually listen to them for their political takes, as well as in, these streaming and gaming sort of subcultures. And these people are idiots, man. And I know that you're well-intended when you want to convince these people of what's going on, and you're like, look, I want you to get it, right? Here are the facts. I had Nick Recader, who on yesterday on my show, and we talked about this, and he lays down all the facts. And the amount of comments from people even saying, I didn't even know that happened. I was like, why do y'all so confidently speak about stuff that you're knowingly, that's when I always say this. It's when ignorance crosses over into stupidity. I believe every individual on this earth is ignorant on something because not everybody knows everything about everything.
Right.
Ignorance crosses over into stupidity when you knowingly speak on something that you're ignorant on, yet you choose to still have this loud, aggressive opinion. Yeah. And that's the world at large, or the country at large. And you can tell in how they converse about this subject that it's still people to this day that think Kyle Rittenhouse went and shot a bunch of black people.
Not having an opinion is an option.
It is. You don't have to chime in. No, and that's a great point. Because people, and I've never been that guy, and when I was, I guess, that guy, I was stupid. So
if I'm asked about some big like foreign relations thing that I don't know about, I'm like,
it's nothing. I'm not offended to say, hey man, I haven't looked into that.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So I won't comment on it. That doesn't offend me. I have enough humility, at least about myself, to admit that. But now I guess with social media and everything's connected, everybody feels like they have to have an opinion on everything to be a part of the conversation.
Because social media, because everybody thinks that their opinion matters because they have a place to get it out.
Right.
Good point.
And so that's what's done. It's created this weird echo chamber where people feel like the truth doesn't matter because in their algorithm, whatever they decide to be the truth becomes the precedent. So if we decide that Kyle Rittenhouse killed black people and is a white supremacist, as long as I'm keeping people out that show me the truth, I never have to confront the truth, and I can live in an alternate reality. And so that's why when you talk to people, it's like, and you talk to them in the real world and you tell them the truth, like, hey, here's what's actually happening in the world. They're going to plug right back into that digital, verse, the metaverse that we're about to get into. And that's the key thing is like, that's where we're headed is, by 2030, it's projected by 2030 that an adult will spend 25% of their waking hours in the metaverse, and by 2050, it'll be over 50%, which have already about 30% of your time is spent sleeping if you're getting the right amount of rest. Not me, but if that's you, probably not you guys either.
Not any of us at the
But if you're
table.
getting the 8 hours, right, then you only have about 60% of your time, or a little bit more. So they're saying that almost all of that, like 8 to 9/10 of that of your time, will be in the metaverse. And that's the whole point, is to get everything to be digital, everything manipulated, because that's how you can control minds. That's why I'm very afraid that, we may never be able to win this country back, because the truth doesn't matter anymore, because big tech and these companies are globalized networks of information. And even if, again, there's a straight up truthful story, they control so much that if they don't want the truth to get out there, people like you and me, those watching the show, will probably find out the truth. But it won't be enough people, and they can still do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Built Bar, who I am very appreciative of today, because actually, the only thing that I've eaten today are 2 Built Bars. So
that's not a bad start to a day.
Actually, I'm not mad about it
that's like
at all.
All I've done for exercise is 2 hours in the gym. It's like a good comparison. You're doing well. It's delicious.
Yeah, it really is. You feel like you're eating this dessert, like you're cheating on your diet, but you're actually, when you eat a Built Bar, you are getting the world's best tasting protein bar. So it's going to be low in calorie, high in protein, also low in sugar, which is huge. Usually the healthiest protein bars taste like you're eating cardboard, but in this case, it actually tastes like you are cheating on your diet. You're not. It's not going to expand your waistline, and they've got a ton of new flavors all the time. By the way, I think that their mystery flavor contest is today and only today. So if you tried the mystery flavor and you want to guess what it is, you got to go to Built's website. That is built.com. You can use promo code NEWS15 to save 15% off of your first order. That is promo code NEWS15 over at built.com. Kyle Rittenhouse apparently will be, was already interviewed, I believe, by Tucker Carlson. It will be airing tonight. And there's a clip circulating in which he says that he supports the Black Lives Matter movement. I think it's very interesting, the angle that some conservatives have taken on this, really taken it and portrayed it as like Kyle Rittenhouse supports the BLM movement. And I think it's, you know what, let's just watch the clip and then we'll talk about it.
I tell everybody there what happened. I said I had to do it. I was just attacked. I was dizzy. I was vomiting. I couldn't breathe. This case has nothing to do with race. It never had anything to do with race. It had to do with the right to self-defense.
Right.
I'm not a racist person. I support the BLM movement. I support peacefully demonstrating. And I believe there needs to be change. I believe there's a lot of prosecutorial misconduct, not just in my case, but in other cases. And it's just amazing to see how much a prosecutor can take advantage of somebody.
You know what? I want to get your thoughts on this, guys, because I think we saw the same thing from the McCloskeys in St. Louis, right? They came out, they said the same thing. We support the Black Lives Matter movement. We just didn't want people on our property. We were exercising our Second Amendment rights. And I think that you see these people, they get in these situations now where they know that the mob is going to call for their heads if they don't say that they support the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm going to toss it to you guys before I say too much.
I mean, look, when I was his age, I was a brain dead leftist. So it doesn't surprise me by any means, but I would encourage him, and I wish I could actually have a sit down talk with him, like a serious, genuine one. Because unfortunately, you get a lot of young people, and you considering, like, I don't know what school system that he grew up in, definitely in the era that when all that was happening. But
he went out there to protect private property from that movement.
And this is what I would pose to him. I would say, you saw what that got you.
Yeah.
You support him. What did it?
Right. Saying that is not going to make them go, oh, he's fine now.
It's not going to stop him.
Yeah.
And it certainly, you saw how these brainlets acted, and you almost figuratively and literally lost your life because of that mob of weirdos.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be those that probably watch this and try to separate the movement from the organization. I would say both of them are quacks. Both of them are losers. I've said that I don't support it. And I've done extensive videos talking and discussing about that. But that's what I would encourage. And me seeing that, I wouldn't at all be surprised considering his age group and how much the propaganda worked, and it has a bunch of people convinced that even from a movement standpoint, it's something worth celebrating or pushing or fundamentally backing, as if it's something like some sort of net positive. Of course, I agree. I was talking about this as all this was going on, this sort of prosecutorial like misconduct. This is something people lose, again, their lives, whether it be behind bars, behind prisons, due to these state prosecutors all the time. This is not the first case. This isn't certainly going to be the last case. And it goes up and down racial lines and different income classes and all of that. This is something that's very real. This is why I've never liked, and I've argued on this show, when people immediately say, just comply, fight it in court. I don't think people understand how screwed up this court system certainly is, and how, from prosecutor's standpoint, this was basically a moneymaker, or rather a career maker, and this can be applied to all of these guys, which is why for them it looks good that they can get as many more found guilty charges as they possibly can, and people lose their lives having not actually committed a crime, or even worse, they're being like no victim or anything, and they're just in there just because some arbitrary reason. But hey, state prosecutors do what it is that they do. But I would love to sit and talk with that youngster about the subject matter.
I'll be tactful in saying this.
Please.
So I love Kyle personally.
Yeah.
Like, aside from all of this, he's become a good friend, and I want whatever he wants to do with his life, that he has the ability to do it. I'm so glad, first of all, that he's free to make these decisions. His mother, Wendy, is a sweetheart as well. The whole family, his sisters, they're just a great group of people. They're very funny, very down-to-earth, normal human beings, and they were slandered and deserve the world. I will, however, say that while I'm super stoked that Kyle is able to get his word out, I'm very disappointed that his team chose network television as the way to do that, because obviously there's a lot of limitations, and Fox didn't deserve this interview. And while I love Tucker, and actually just got done wrapping up even the second movie doing with him on this up there, so I'm not disparaging him. I love Tucker. He's a really great guy. Fox itself really fumbled pretty much all of the coverage of the 2020 riots. They didn't invest any money. They relied on independent journalists and reporters to do the dirty work. They, just like every network, didn't go into the places they should have. They didn't tell the stories they needed to. They wouldn't go hard on the issues like we wanted them to. And they just sort of dropped the ball. And when I see this, everything's off record, but I can tell you already watching some of these clips, I don't know how the questions were worded, but I don't think some of these answers are accurately being portrayed because, you know, before all this, I know Kyle was actually pretty apolitical, like most 17-year-olds would be, right? But I do know, okay, I can't say anything else, but all I can say is that seeing the clips is exactly what I was worried about when talking to him and his team about the interview, was that I felt like the network TV was going to try to get that, hey, let's get back with the left and be like, see, he's not really a white supremacist. He likes BLM. Like you said, though, where I'm going, and I'm going to say this, and I've spoken to other people at Fox who, even though they're happy they got the interview, we're upset that they went with them and not with us, because they even told me, like, hey, it probably would have been better if he sat down with you, because since you know him personally and he knows you and you were there,
it's
and you guys,
full circle.
Like, the funny joke is, Kyle told me, he goes, you were actually my first media interview, because he goes in the night, he goes, you were my first media interview. So it'd be cool to do it again, just run full circle. And what I was worried about was like the networks still haven't caught up to where we are as a movement of going, dude, we don't. Someone like Kyle does not support communism. He does not, and that's what Black Lives Matter movement is. I know, I've spoken to him extensively. He doesn't support any of this stuff.
But he's a 17-year-old kid, and he's being asked, do you support Black Lives? He's like, yeah, of course I
So
yes.
That's why I knew a network would do this BS. I knew they would do this. We're not, not pushing back even, and be like, Kyle, the BLM stands for this. Do you support the people in the movement that are under the impression that there is false information, that black people are being killed disproportionately? But obviously, I'm just going to say it, Kyle does not support that stuff in that degree, and his mother doesn't. I've spoken to her either, and so I look at this and I'm just like, here's network television with one of the greatest opportunities to vindicate and give Kyle PR. I'm not even talking about our movement, and it pisses me off, the people that have been around Kyle over the years and the people that have been fumbling this from the start, that I'm even surprised actually he got off, realistically speaking. And I'm just going to say, like, it makes me angry because when we have a chance to really push back on the left and say, look, you guys got this wrong. This is not an evil person. This is an American that has self-defense. We're busy trying to win back points with people who hate us, who are never going to care anyways. And I'm just like, I want to shoot myself in the face because it's like, how many more times do we want to lose?
They do it all the time. Look, this isn't the first they've done it. I'll just real quick on this. Like, they've done this where the corporate conservatives kind of have done this with a lot of people that are, for example, the Kanyes of the world. I've said this before. They get to talking to the wrong people, and they get to lead the charge. And I'm not saying this just because it's like I want them on their side. It's more of I would love for someone that can actually break it down in a way that they can fundamentally understand, not for folks that just want to use it to kind of piggyback for their own individual motives. And it sucks. So hopefully it doesn't go in that direction. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, here we go.
Yeah. By the way, we don't have time to play the clip, but apparently Wendy Rittenhouse, Elijah just mentioned, Kyle's mother actually made a statement to Fox News during one of her interviews. She said that they are exploring legal action against people who they believe slandered Kyle.
We still call him white supremacist.
Still.
MSNBC, like
still,
just did
literally that. Still, to this day, over the weekend.
Murderous white supremacist.
Murderous white supremacist. Still. So please, for the love of God, sue each and every one of them. I hope you own CNN, Kyle. I hope you own MSNBC. Take all of them down, please. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Omega XL. So if you are one of many Americans who you're just living in pain, maybe it is your age. You've reached that certain age where everything hurts. Maybe you've had an accident. I don't know. I was in a car accident years ago that really, really screwed up the discs in my back, and I just kind of lived in constant pain. You know what has helped that pain? Omega XL. All right, there is science behind it. It's backed by 35 years of clinical research. But surprisingly, it's not like this big pharma thing where it's a bunch of crazy chemicals that you're putting in your body. No, it is an essential fatty acid combination from the waters of New Zealand, which is actually going to help with the inflammation. What you guys don't know is that usually it's inflammation under there that is causing your pain. So anything that you are doing that is not treating the inflammation is just masking the problem. Get rid of it. Try Omega XL. You will be glad that you did. You can order a bottle of Omega XL right now. Get a second bottle for free if you go to omegaxl.com/news. That is a buy one, get one over at omegaxl.com/news. YouTube has strict community guidelines over what we can and cannot say about COVID-19 vaccines and treatments. If YouTube deems we've somehow violated these guidelines, we risk YouTube cutting off our ability to communicate to you. With that said, the discussions which follow are not meant to provide medical advice. Please seek the advice of local health officials for any COVID-19 and or COVID vaccine related questions and concerns. So the United States, congrats everyone. In the United States, our COVID-19 deaths in 2021 have topped 2020. So big round of applause for, no?
The vaccines work. It means the vaccines work. The masks work. I'm going to tell you this. Can I tell you how crazy people are real fast? This? So I was in Chicago, and I have never seen such insanity. I got kicked out of I couldn't go anywhere because I wouldn't put on a mask, and like some places do check your vaccine cards.
Isn't it so wild when you go somewhere else? Because we're over here in Texas. Like I've never worn a mask and never gotten kicked out of anywhere.
Everyone has one outside.
That's so
outside.
weird.
Everyone's walking around with them outside. I kept asking people, "What's the science behind that?" And so anyway, but I'm like, it took me a while to find like a restaurant to go into, and luckily one of those based places, Harry Carey's, the Italian steakhouse, was like, that's where they're gonna get a bill because that's the only place that would let me eat there. So I was like, $150 meals. I was like,
sorry, Gaston.
I couldn't even go to Subway. There was no way I could get food. So I'm like, I walk in there, and literally there are people in there, like I'm sitting there trying not to laugh because the guy in front of me has 2 masks on, and he's cutting his steak, pulling it down, eating, putting the mask back up, and with 2 masks, but like he would grab one and then the other, and then eat, and then put the other mask and the other mask back on. I'm like trying. People are wearing their masks. Like a couple was wearing their mask the whole meal, and then they would do it. People were doing the in-between bite thing still.
That is so wild.
Yeah, like we're in Texas, so I just haven't seen that.
Okay, but
I don't know.
Also, like, if you're that scared of it, why are you even going out to a restaurant? Like, just eat at home. I don't understand. Get takeout, get Uber Eats. That is so weird to me. If you're that scared, why even take the risk of going inside the restaurant? Eric, I want to get your thoughts on this too, but let me just give the number of deaths. So 2020 was 385,343, and 2021 so far 385,775. And this is, again, I'd just like to, there's supposedly 70% of the population.
Because we haven't had our 12th booster.
Right, is partially vaccinated, they said. And we've had this vaccine all of 2021. They've said that it works, which is, again, that's why you need to go get more, is because of how well it works, obviously.
Eric knows. Eric's the biggest advocate for, he says it to me every day, calls me in the morning. Every morning at 6 a.m., he wakes up and shoots himself.
And
he injects himself with a booster and says, Elijah.
Right in the neck.
Yeah, he goes, aren't you so glad that the vaccines work so well? And then I always tell him, you're doing the Lord's work. And then the flowers clap. And it's like, we just keep going.
I mean, look, I assume at this point in the program, we have already played the little disclosure that I recorded, and we have to play every time we talk about the vaccine so that we don't get this kicked off of YouTube. So I assume all of that disclosure is out of the way. You just, if you're a critically thinking person, you have to look at this and go, wait a second. If this works the way that they say it does, and this many people have been vaccinated, why are there now more deaths in 2021 than in 2020? Something's
Eric's
not
face.
right here.
Eric just going,
look,
Yeah.
You remember what I said in the first segment about people being stupid?
Yes, I do actually recall
this
that.
is just another instance of this. You could show this data to them. And I've done that's been my thing since the March.
It's because of the unvaccinated.
They've shown that. I've sat and looked at so much data that is available across the entire world, not just this country, the entire world, and almost none of it amounts to what they claim was supposed to happen, despite you having a majority of the population in any given area having all of these jabs and boosters, 3 shots, 4 shots. I mean, you're talking about over the span of the next year, you're talking about people having 5 maybe boosters. It's getting ridiculous, but if it worked in the way that they said it was supposed to work, it shouldn't even be close. And I think that's the part that you have to remember. It was like with Sweden. You could sit up here and say all day long, well, their surrounding countries have similar or less deaths or something like that. It shouldn't even be close. But it is. Why? Because it simply didn't amount to what you said that it would. And look, guys, I know folks that hate watch this show and folks that hate watch me don't want to ever concede that they have been duped.
Yeah.
So they'll lie and lie and lie and lie. But guys, you got to come to terms with the reality. You got duped. Period.
I have to interject this because it's so amazing. I don't think we have it, but the Wall Street Journal tweeted out this story that the COVID-19 deaths in 2021 have surpassed 2020, and they tweeted it out with a caption that said that it surpassed from 2020. With the Delta variant and low vaccination rates important factors in the higher count, infectious disease experts say.
What?
It's there was no freaking
vaccine
vaccine in 2020. What does low vaccination rates have to do with it?
Exactly.
And they say the Delta's less deadly. So we have a less
That's
deadly.
what they said.
I know, but so we have a less deadly
Yeah.
variant, more vaccines, but it's the unvaccinated are dying.
There was zero people with vaccines in 2020.
It's not true though, because if you type in deaths from COVID, more of the stories that even come up, the news can't even stop reporting them, show vaccinated people still dying. That they don't even call them breakthrough cases. And you knew it was a scam from the start when they put 4 lines for shots on the vaccine cards. They didn't put 2, they put 4, knowing, because they knew that it didn't work the way they said that it worked, okay? They knew that. Now, they all lied, and we're the ones who could get in trouble. They lied so much in the beginning that it's not even a point to talk about anymore. It's just, they were just lying. And now, Fauci's we're gonna have to get used to boosters every 6 months.
They got to get used to
yeah,
it.
it's
I ain't doing
yeah,
nothing.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm not getting a single one. I opted out a while ago. So I'm not going with that. Second of all, it's really, again, we've reiterated this. The best thing you can do is not get 57 boosters. It's lose some damn weight. Stop being a fat loser. And I mean this seriously to you guys, because fat shaming is so important, a part of my platform. And it's because it's not a joke. It's not a joke.
I know.
I'm telling you, because I've had people die from quite a few things in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They say it's from COVID. I don't know. But you know what was the common factor with all of these people?
Obesity.
Yes, because age is not a factor you can change, okay?
Right.
But yes, they were all obese, even the people that didn't die, people that got infections, even flus that have had problems. Look, I have a friend named Aldo. He's 21, he's very fit, he's a good-looking guy, and he recently got a really bad, COVID flu thing. He took some antibiotics or whatever, and he's doing great, okay? And every single obese person that I know that gets this, even my one friend he's losing weight and he's still a little overweight. His name's Serge, and I love him the hell out of him. He's awesome. He still has 80% lung capacity after getting COVID and hasn't gotten it back. So you know what he's doing? This is why I'm saying this. He's losing the damn weight. He saw how much the weight affected him, and he realized that we need to get healthy as a nation. And the way forward is not booster shots; it's being healthy.
Well, that goes to show that none of this had anything to do with health, because at no point in time, from March 2020 up to now, at no point in time have they ever led any sort of charge, whether it be the NIH, whether it be the CDC, that were even encouraging people to get off of their fat asses. That never happened. It was always sit down, don't move, get everything ordered to you, all of that.
Shut the
literally
gyms
locked down.
Yeah.
Literally
shut the gyms
don't,
sit on your
which
butt.
is the worst thing that you could possibly do.
No vitamin D.
None of that.
No
exercise. Shut your gyms down. They did all of that because it had nothing to do with health. Because if they actually cared about health, and I made this point back in the Gap, if they actually cared about health, they would have led the been honest with people. When we knew that, almost 80% of the hospitalizations were overweight, that should have been right there. All right, guys, you guys need to go on a run, go walk, go do something. But never once, they still haven't done it.
You don't want to fat shame people. You don't want to fat shame
I
them.
will.
But they're pushing fatness too. It's this is a pandemic of the obese, and I know people. This is what I'm going to tell you. I know that it's hard. Look. I have, technically, I have regained a bunch of weight back because now I'm lifting.
Yeah, because it's all
in
muscle.
In a good way.
You guys should
but
see him.
But it's look, it's not weird. A lot of people are fat, and sometimes you got to look in the mirror and just say, look, you don't want to live like this, and you don't have to die early from these things. You can't prevent necessarily dying in a car accident. There's a lot of factors, but weight is what's killing people, and that's why it's you know who the real criminals are in this pandemic? It's these food companies. It's the FDA that approve these foods. It's the culture and the society that is presses. The only thing that I agree with Michelle Obama on was the fact that people eat too much damn sugar. So, but it's I look at this and I just tell people, the pandemic deaths are not going to go away until the culture gets healthy.
Right.
And that's just because deaths are going to remain high from all causes in this country until you all stop shoving food down your faces and stop being so lazy.
It's almost like that may have something to do with why Africa's a cold spot. I don't know.
Was there a lot of obese people?
So I want to get back to,
obviously.
We're talking about this. Let's take a break, and then I want to get back to the greatest con man of all time, Dr. Fauci, who is giving you permission to enjoy Thanksgiving with your family if you are vaccinated, of course. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So things are pretty crazy if you have not been paying attention, which I know you are because you watch this program, but we've got open borders being advocated for. We've got spending that's going crazy. You never know when the government is going to lock us down again. We've got super high inflation. It's really, really crazy times. You may be thinking, what can I do right now? What can I do to help? Well, for starters, you can do something very, very easy. You can buy from companies that believe what you and I believe in. We got to stick together now. There is one company that has been willing to stand with you since 2012, and that is Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They offer the same nationwide coverage that you have right now because they all use the same towers, all these carriers. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget. They've got 100% U.S.-based customer support, and they share your values, and they support organizations fighting for things like religious freedom, constitutional rights, and the sanctity of life. They're going to take a portion of that money and donate it to causes that you believe in and are fighting for. Stand with Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/news. You can get free activation with the offer code NEWS. By the way, if you are a veteran or first responder, they love you so much, they are going to give you a special discount on top of their already very reasonably priced plans. You got to go to patriotmobile.com/news. That is patriotmobile.com/news. All right, on this topic of the vaccines, Anthony Fauci, who I still don't know why they continue putting him on television, he went on with ABC over the weekend and said, look, if you're vaccinated, and I hate that they are using this term, the new thing, they think it's hip. They're saying, get boosted. If you're boosted, you can enjoy a Thanksgiving meal with your family. Watch.
I presume we have to be cautious during Thanksgiving. You talked about Christmas protection with those boosters, but quickly, if you will, Thanksgiving?
Well, if you're a booster, I mean, you see, if you're vaccinated, and hopefully you'll be boosted too, and your family is, you can enjoy a typical
boosted
Thanksgiving meal, Thanksgiving holiday with your family. There's no reason not to do that. The thing we are concerned about is the people who are not vaccinated, because what they're doing is they're the major source of the dynamics of the infection in the community.
Show the receipts. Show the receipts, Fauci.
Of
Show the
dynamics
receipts.
of infection, the more everyone is at risk. But if they're
Show the
vaccinated, you look at the data, Martha, it's absolutely clear. The likelihood of getting infected, getting hospitalized, or dying, if you're vaccinated versus non-vaccinated, weighs very, very heavily in the protection
and
of
he's
people
also,
who are vaccinated.
So he's conflating transmission with all of these hospitalization, deaths, what have you, those are all different statistics, by the way. But let me just add this into the conversation, because I know we only have a couple minutes left and I want to get to this. The New York Times, they had a little, question and answer that was someone asking, look, our children are coming to Thanksgiving. They've only received one dose, each of them, of the vaccine before Thanksgiving. Great parenting, giving them the vaccine at all. What do we do? Is it safe for us to eat indoors? And the answer is that I'm glad to hear that the children and all guests are vaccinated, as the kids will not be fully vaccinated until 2 weeks after their second shot. You need to take some care. They say this at the end. You could have the kids wear masks, eat quickly, and stay away from the older adults when they're eating. So they want to rush the children away from the Thanksgiving table. Eat quick, hurry up, eat your freaking green beans, get the hell out of here.
Nobody questions Fauci on almost anything, because you hear all the stuff that he's rattling. He's like, he's a freaking weasel, right? Yeah. And the way that he kind of words.
He just
First of all, when you consider how the testing and everything is working, people that are vaccinated aren't even required half the time to get tested. They only apply that to the vaccine. So when you look at that
in itself would be skewed.
Exactly. Yeah. So you see the data coming from the other countries and seeing that there's no, and our CDC's already conceded that it doesn't stop transmission.
Right.
So what are you talking about? But it's not like the chicks are going to question anything that it is that he says. Is everybody get boosted. But I will say this, and I'm hitting on this note. If you're asking like Fauci or the freaking New York Times or any of these crackheads whether or not you should be spending time with your own damn kids, you got a whole heap of a lot of other problems.
Yeah, you're too far gone. Elijah, we got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I watch people on TikTok and stuff crying. Their family won't let them come home for Thanksgiving because they're not vaccinated. And, I just think these people
crying over it?
Well, they're crying because they can't go home.
You don't want me home because I'm not vaccinated? Bye.
But they don't. But a lot of people are realizing that this is the dumbest thing to split families up over. I'm just gonna say that if you are allowing this to dictate you, you are a feckless moron. That's all.
Yeah,
I like that.
I would also like to add, if you are disinviting people because of their vaccination status,
that's not your friend and it's not your family member. If they
right,
are going to draw that line there, go ahead and cut your losses. Please, you do me
a favor. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back.
That question hasn't even come up with my family, which is, I know I was just.
All right, before we go, I would be wearing my wonderful Let's Go Brandon ugly Christmas sweater, but it's about 10 million degrees in here today, and I actually don't know how Elijah is even you're alive right now.
Literally, Kayla knows the number one thing. I'm gonna sound like a total prick here, but I always complain that these studios are made for women because they're always too hot. Especially with the heat, they're always the studios.
This studio is usually like the Arctic.
No, when my shows come on, they like turn off the air, and I'm always just like profusely sweating. He came in a tank top.
I do it. I do their show all the time in tank tops.
Yeah, it's too hot. Like I'm like sweating. I'm like, this world is too much for women. We need to take it back, man.
Oh my gosh. Everyone knows that AC is sexist, all right? But you gotta go get you one. Let's Go Brandon, ugly Christmas sweater. You can get 20% off with promo code NEWS20 if you go to shop.blazemedia.com. Also, it's just that I'm in this contest with a bunch of men and I need to win. This is a merch war. Okay? And you need to make sure that I beat Steve Deace and Chad Prather and Stu Burgier. The way that you can do that is by using my promo code NEWS20 over at shop.blazemedia.com. By the way, if you send me the receipt, a screenshot of you using that promo code NEWS20 to Sarah@blazemedia.com, you will be entered in a contest to win more merch. I'm doing this out of my own pocket because I want to beat these guys. So help me over at shop.blazemedia.com.